the one who walks on the water.
I worship the one who can say, peace be still. I worship the one who left his throne in heaven to be lifted up on a cross on a hill. I worship the one who is Jesus. I worship the one who is born of God. I worship the one who is Jesus. I worship the one. Worship the one. I worship the one who is Jesus. I worship the one who is born of God. I worship the one who is Jesus. I worship the one who is born the Son of God. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him.
Okay, good morning. Welcome to Sunday School this morning. We have a diversified group here, and I'm glad that you're able to make it out. Of course, Pastor Schraff is currently out of town. He is on his way back. Do be in prayer for him as he returns. As I said, for those of you who are coming in, if you'd like some notes, we have plenty of notes. If you're in my Sunday School class, we're actually extending the influential parenting. In other words, we're continuing in that. So we do have that here. I said some of you are long past parenting. I get that, but are you really? Okay. So if you'd like notes, they're right here. Mr. JP, if you could just walk these around. I see where that's going to be a problem there, Mike. I'll do my best to stay away there. Also, we do have some bulletins here that are available to you there on the front row as well. And so thank you for coming out this morning and for joining us here. As I said, Pastor Schraff is out. I do ask that you be in prayer for him as he comes and returns. They did have a little bit of an issue with, I say a little bit, it was a pretty big issue with their trailer, but God did provide in many ways there. And so we're grateful for that. We'll be in Proverbs here in just a moment. I'll give you some announcements as well. We have different platforms by which we're presenting, so it makes it a lot of fun. I don't know if it's where I'm at, Micah, but I'm getting a lot of reverb where I'm at. You all may be okay. So you hearing it too? Okay, very good. Okay, Proverbs chapter 29, but a couple of announcements for you as we begin. We have I teach the Home Builders Bible Fellowship class, and I enjoy doing that. And so welcome to that class here. You never know where you're going to be when you come to Sunday school in the mornings. We have multiple fellowships as well, but we should have a good time this morning. Just a couple of announcements for you. First of all, if you could click the slide for me, Mr. Andrew, because I'll be going blind with all of this till I get to my notes. Like I said, I'm throwing him a curveball, doing something a little different. So there we go. Just a reminder about family worship nights. That is, of course, this evening. We hope that you'll join us. Glad to have Brother Al Doomy here, and he's going to be bringing the message this evening. So we're excited about that. Next slide there. Also, Great Commission outreach opportunities. If you're not a part, you can get plugged in. There are many opportunities for you to be a part on Wednesday evenings, whether you're learning or whether you're actually participating in a gospel station. We'd love to have you there. The Children's Crusade is coming up. I have an important announcement about this. This is coming up June 16th through the 19th. That begins next week, okay, believe it or not. So we're excited about this. We, of course, have Seeing Truth Ministries that will be presenting, and they do an excellent job. We do need volunteers, so you can sign up through Realm, and we do need some donations. Capri Suns. And so we'll be collecting those donations, of course, this week. Next week will be too late. I say that. We'll be in the midst of it. But anyways, if you could and would be willing to donate Capri Suns for the children as they come, I know that we would appreciate that greatly. Next slide. Crown College will be with us on Sunday, June 23rd. That is for the AM and the PM services. They're going to be singing and presenting there. And they, of course, take the high road. That's part of Crown College's theme as well. And we're glad to have them here. Senior trip, if you would please. You saw the voting stations out here, so you can help out. This is a fun event. I know it can get competitive, okay? But there's no loser in this game, okay? So if you will, this is an opportunity for you to support the seniors as they go on their senior trip while casting votes towards where they are going to go. So San Diego or Alaska, two totally different places, and they will have a good time wherever they go. We always encourage the seniors in that. It's more about being with their peers and just enjoying the time there. But anyways, you can cast your vote there. You can donate as much as you like. Every $5 is one vote towards that location. And if you're not sure which one to vote for, as I said last week, you could either vote for cupcakes or what's the other one? Cookies or cupcakes, so just pick your favorite, and you can donate towards that. Just a reminder that we are taking the next steps, and we are working towards. In fact, if you want to see some of the next steps, you can come by. I will give you an academy tour. I just did that for a prospective family, and I told them, I said, you're going to see us in the raw, okay, because that's really what it was. I walked them around in every single room except for one, I think, was just torn apart. We had stuff taken off the walls. We have desks just stacked up. We have everything in the hallways. So they enjoyed it, but it is definitely a lot is being done. We have a lot of flooring that's being put down, ceiling that's being put in, a lot of renovations that are occurring over the summertime. I was talking with Mrs. DeHaven here. We'll be having, in fact, I say probably, like 95% sure we will be having a work day this summer. So if you could help out painting, moving things around, we could use your help. But we'll get more information out about that here in just a little bit. And then I do ask you that you pray for our academy and also our daycare ministries. Both of these are in need of staffing for this coming year. I know that we are in need of, the academy is in need of a full-time teacher, and also the daycare is in need of multiple teachers going into the next year. So do be in prayer for that, and we would appreciate that greatly. That brings us to Proverbs chapter 29. So if you want to take your Bibles, we're going to just take a look at this idea of influential parenting. Influential parenting. Since we have a lot of new bodies here, I'd like to just kind of give you just a quick summary of what we're covering in our Sunday school class. And it's this idea of influence. Influential parenting. I have here a great book. It's called Passionate Parenting. It deals mainly with teenagers, which some of you may want to go right from here and go purchase this if you have teenagers. But this is a great book. It's a great way of coming at the idea of raising young people. And raising them in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. And as I said, a lot of times we're all about discipline. We're all about, getting them to conform. And those are important things. In fact, in the previous lesson, we talked about conformity first, but not last. In other words, conformity is important. And how you choose to conform, of course, if we went around the room, we'd have a whole bunch of different ideas here about how to make children conform. I believe that there are effective, efficient ways, and then less effective and efficient ways, okay? And so the Bible talks about the rod. It talks about you can beat the child with the rod and they will not die, okay? And so, but at the same time, we need to be careful of the idea of child abuse because it can get to that extent. And so anything that is extreme can end up being a problem. We need to conform the child, but there's more to raising a child than that. And it's about influence. Whenever we're at the academy, and I'm disciplining a student, I'm disciplining them with a purpose. Whenever I'm dealing with my children and I discipline them with a purpose in mind, not just because, okay, you did this, so this is what happens. Okay? That will work for a time, but eventually that becomes a problem. Okay? And will cause, in fact, the scripture talks about fathers not to provoke their children to wrath. And that's where that can come from. So we want to be careful that we do not do this. Some of you who are past the parenting age, you can take these things, these principles, and pass them on to your children or to your grandchildren. And I believe that is important as well. So in Proverbs 29, I want to start with verses 15 and 17. It says, "The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame." Okay? And actually, it's part of my lesson here, so I have to be careful not to get too far ahead. But listen, if I'm left to myself, I know what I would have been. I'm very grateful for my upbringing. I'm very grateful for my parents. Okay? Did I receive spankings I did not deserve? Yes. Did I not receive spankings I did deserve? Yes, many more that I did not get that I should have had. So, in my young mind, okay, it was actually pretty simple. When I was wrongly accused, it was like, oh yeah, well that's God taking care of some of these times that I wasn't. I didn't have a problem with that. I understood, listen, who I would become if I did not have someone restraining me. Especially as a young person, going into your teenage years. As you get to be an adult, of course, there are fewer and fewer. You don't have coaches, you don't have teachers, you don't have your parents in the same authority format. But you still need to learn to submit under authority. I think that's where being a child of God is so important, and having the Holy Spirit of God to direct and to guide you is so important. And we need to train our children in the same way. So, a child left to themselves, the scripture says exactly what will happen. A child left to themselves will bring a mother to shame. Now, a lot of times we think, well, it brings a mother shame, and we understand that, but it says that this will bring a mother to shame. Okay? And listen, who wants to do that, and what mother wants to do that? In a sense, you're doing it to yourself. It's a different world now, and I get to experience that, especially. I'm sure you have as well. Expectations of children. I walk around. You go in Walmart, you go to the mall, you go wherever you like, and you can observe, and we even see this in our academy, you see this in the schools. I get more and more reports, especially from public schools. We see this everywhere, where the child is the one that runs the family. The child is the one that gets what they want. The child is the one that basically is manipulating their parents. Okay? And what's going to happen? It's going to bring the mother to shame. By the way, that's why a father figure is so important. A lot of times a mother plays the loving role, a father plays the disciplinary role. It is important, fellas. It's important that you do that. Okay? Listen, that union is important, talking about the union of a man and a woman. I like what he says here. This is Carrie Smith in Passionate Parenting. He gives a notice here to... Let me grab it. A word to single parents. Parenting is a daunting challenge, but when God calls you to shoulder the task seemingly alone, the burden can appear almost impossible. Okay? The reason is because God has designed man and woman to be together, but that doesn't always happen. So what do? He says, I want to share a verse with you before even beginning the rest of the book. He says, "Faithful is he that hath calleth you, who also will do it." You are not alone. Jesus Christ has called you, and he will enable you. You and him are exactly what your child needs. So, we have the Proverbs 29:15, and then look down at 17. Correct thy son, and he shall give thee, what is that next word? Rest. He shall give thee rest. Yea, he shall give delight unto thy soul. When we neglect correction, when we neglect discipline, and by the way, it's work, it's hard, it's not easy, okay? But when we leave that off, we're going to reap something we do not, and when we do, we're going to reap something. It's planting a good seed. That is what it is doing. As arrows in the hand of an archer, right? It's the same idea. Hey, I have a purpose and a plan for each one of these. I know Steve DeHaven knows this. A lot of the Haven boys, man, I'm picky about the arrow that I pull out, especially if I have a purpose for where that is going to go. But listen, discipline with direction, okay? Raise your children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. That's what that is talking about. Schmidt says this in his books. He says, and he's talking about, let's see. He says, most honest adults would rather lose a limb than have to go through the phase of life again, especially the teenage phase of life. How easy it is to forget what life was like between 12 and 20. How often we look into the eyes of a 16-year-old and we see an adult, so we expect adult reasoning and responses. We tend to lose sight of the fact that there is a lot of transition going on in that teenage body and brain. Kind of going back to Proverbs 29, verse 17. Listen, Smith says this. He says he was warned about the dreadful years, okay, those teenage years, the difficult years, and he said we're through them now by perception of everyone that is around us, and I'm still waiting. Why? Because he invested into his children. He adapted as he needed to adapt over time, and that's what a lot of this, I wish I could go back and cover everything else, but I can't, okay? So let's get into the lesson for today. First of all, what can help the understanding parent? It is this: remember the past. Remember the past. And there's going to be an opportunity for you to kind of chime in here as well. I've got some ideas here, but remembering the past. For your child's sake, you need to remember the past, okay? So, in remembering the past, we're going to remember the past, first of all, as a child. First of all, as a child, okay? So, remembering the past as a child, one more time. Does anyone have any, well, I'll give you mine first, okay? And then if you have any, you can chime in as well, okay? As a child, do you remember the devious nature? Do you remember the devious nature that you had as a child? Okay? I remember that. I remember that. I think I do have these in order. Maybe. There you go. The devious nature as a child. How about good intentions, but wrongly accused? Good intentions, you wanted to do what was right, but you just couldn't. And by the way, parents, you're going to have to let your children, if you want them to be a blessing to you later in life, you're going to have to let them invest. You have to invest into them at a young age, and you have to let them do it at their level, okay? Sure, okay, your child is not capable of picking up as fast as you are. But if you pick up for them, then they're not going to be a help to you in the future. So listen, they could have good intentions, okay, of picking up, or of putting something away, or of cleaning something, but if it's not to your level and you complain about it, then it's like, well, hands off, I'm not going to do that anymore, right? Well, now you've got a problem, because eventually they're not going to want to do that because they understand it's work. When they're young, it's like, oh, well, that's what mommy and daddy do. Okay? One of the things that my wife did from a young age, which really I was very appreciative of, and I know she was, and it has allowed our children to become big helpers in the home, but it was them taking on responsibilities for themselves. When they were very young and they were old enough to take toys out, then they are old enough to put toys back. So before okay, when they took toys out and they had playtime, before they went to lunch or before they went to do something else, they had to clean up. Okay, because they were capable of doing that. And my wife expected that. Did that go well the first time? 2 times? 3 times? 4 times? No, okay, because they want to go on and do their own thing. So what had to happen? Listen, that's a battle that my wife fought, said you took them out, you can put them back. Okay, simple as that. There may have been some discipline that occurred in there because there's a direct disobedience that comes into play. Okay, and that's, I like what Pastor Martin said, that basically everything can be brought down to direct disobedience. Don't just spank your kid, okay, because they're being a kid. Spank your kid because it's a direct disobedience issue. Discipline your kid because it's a direct disobedience issue. And if it's not a direct disobedience issue, then make it a direct disobedience issue or an opportunity for them to obey or not obey, right? Take them to that point. That helps. Good intentions, yet wrongly accused. How about this one? Always looking up. Okay? Of course, I'm still doing that. Okay? Most everyone's taller than I am. I go, my wife's family, okay? You know, they're tall. So my nephews, you know, they're all, I'm all looking up to them like this. I'm like, I can still take you. Okay, anyways, always looking up. That's probably not true anymore. We got some football players and some whatnot, you know, older guys there. But anyways, it's fun to say. Listen, and they are looking up. That's a good thing. Okay, but to them, they're going to feel inferior. How about unsure of many things? Okay, they don't know a lot of things. Okay, and so they are unsure. And they need to be guided. How about made to feel dumb? We do this unintentionally. You may do this with a spouse as well. I get accused of this from time to time. Okay, but we try not to do that. Okay, and listen, you should be aware of that with your child. You remember how there were times where you felt dumb? I can remember. Yeah, I can remember one time when. We had a slip and slide out, and my father was working on putting it out. It was my birthday, and so he you know, was getting it all hooked up and everything. And I was probably older, might have been a teenager, I don't know. But anyways, I was there with my friends at the starting line. It was right down there, and I thought, hey, I was impatient, is what I was. I still am. And I'm like, okay, it's time to go. He's down there working. Man, I go out, I jump on it just like I had done 100 times before. Well, it wasn't wet enough. So you know what plastic and skin does, okay, when it's not wet. So anyways, I went fumbling across it, very embarrassing. And my father didn't have to say a lot. I already felt pretty dumb. Don't forget the good. There are some good things that come from being a child. Do you remember the good? How about being just carefree about everything? You know, I sit here and watch these young people, especially after the service or something like that, and they're just going around. They don't have a care in the world, right? They don't have all the responsibility on them. They don't have to deal with all that. In fact, part of it is less responsibility. Okay? You don't have all of that. How about this? And I'm not going to ask for a raise of hands, but in your mind you could raise your hand. How many of you miss the innocency of a child, of being a child? Okay? There's an innocency, and I hope that there is, though that's being taken younger and younger in our society in which we live. That's part of, by the way, your responsibility as a parent, your responsibility as a grandparent is to, listen, it's not to put them in a bubble and keep them from everything. You can't do that, okay? But you can filter out what they're receiving, and then what's coming through, then you can deal with that. And I think it's important to teach a child how to deal with those things. So, how about some input from you? What are some things that you may have thought of as we went through this one? Anyone? Any brave soul want to speak up? Anything that you remember from the past as a child?
I remember my mom coming down to my level and saying, Tracy, you know that was wrong. And so put your nose on her and wait for your father.
And wait for your father to come home. Came down to your level. And the people in the back can't see me. Very effective. Very effective. You're taking, remember we talked about always looking up? You're taking yourself and you're putting them down and you're saying, listen, this is important to me. Okay? By the way, discipline, in fact, that's what you're talking about there, the idea of discipline. Okay? It's getting the attention of the parent. Many times we're so busy doing everything else. Listen, your child is the most important thing that you have. If you don't have your family, okay, then everything else you're doing matters not. So listen, take the time, invest in them. Very good. Anyone else? Okay, if not, then we'll move on to the mutant teenager. The mutant teenager, remembering what it was like to be a teenager. Remembering what it was like to be a teenager. Probably when I was thinking about this, the first thing that came to mind were braces. Listen, these kids today, what in the world? Okay? They have it made. Okay? First of all, they could get color braces if they would choose to do that. Okay? But now they have the Invisalign. Okay? You don't even have to have the braces necessarily. Okay? I mean, we were wired. Okay? Like you could pick up certain radio channels, okay, if you turned your head the right way. It was absolutely unbelievable. I can never forget walking in to the dentist or to the orthodontist office, and you walk in and they had these multiple chairs, and they would have 3 or 4 children in those chairs, and they had wires just sticking up out of their mouths, you know, and it was a fun time, okay, definitely. I had something that was above that. That was called a headgear. How many of you have ever experienced a headgear? Oh, you have not lived until you've worn a headgear. Thank goodness I only had to do that at night. I know that there were those who were ordered to do it like all day. But it was basically the strap that went over your head. You had a metal bar that went in, hooked to the back of your teeth right here. So you stuck that in, and it had little hooks on it, and you took this strap that came down, and you hooked it on. It had multiple holes in it. And so you would hook it down, and you do the same thing across the back of your neck. So you actually had 2 straps, and you would hook it on to these hooks that were here, and it would pull your jaw, one direction or another. And so that's what I had to deal with. A fun time as a teenager, right? You're trying to be cool, and you've got these braces or this headgear. How about all the pimples? Right? Dealing with that part of your life. How about the out of proportion body parts? Out of proportion body parts. I don't know what's going on there. Oh, there you go. The head, the ears, long legs, big feet, you're dealing with awkwardness there. How about this? Thinking you know about things, but you just don't. You just don't. You remember knowing it all? I mean, you got old enough like, oh, I know it all. And as you got older, you were like, oh, I didn't know as much as I really thought I did. In fact, I really didn't know anything about life at that time. You thought you knew. So knowing all, but really not. I think of the Finding Nemo movie. You think you can do these things, Nemo, but you just can't. As a parent, that's what I'm thinking. You think you know these things, but you don't. You don't know anything, but you can't tell them that. Right? Could your parents tell you that? No. Just asking. How about the identity crisis? Who you are? Trying to figure out what your purpose is. Now, of course, hopefully we find this in our own lives through Christ. And we're actually going to talk about that in the next hour. So, how about teenage years? A little closer to what you were living. Any input for teenage years?
9th grade, I was 5'2", 138 pounds, wore a size 13 shoe. I didn't have a name. I was my little brother. I was John Doomy's little brother. And that was tough.
Yeah. 9th grade.
9th grade.
Size 13. And 135 pounds. And
5'2".
5'2". At least you knew you were going to grow with 13-foot shoe. Hey, how many of you grew up in your sibling's shadow? Hey? Right? Hey, it wasn't your name. Hey, you know, it was, oh, you're so-and-so.
Yeah, they even announced me in front of the whole school in a big meeting we had, and John Doomey's little brother out.
John Doomey's little brother out. That's great. Okay. Any others? Any other remembering the past as a mutant teenager?
In your shadow, I was one who went to high school to try to do the best that I could so that my siblings, after me, would go into school and they'd say, "Oh, you're Tracy Lanier's brother or sister," because I was always Eileen's brother or sister, or sister. And I was so excited when I graduated and it was time for me to go to school. And then my sister ended up getting kicked out, and my brother was put into a private school.
They just couldn't live up to your standard. That's what it was. you set the bar too high for them. So, hey, listen, and we're going to cover this here in just a minute. Listen, your children need your support. To compare, I have 3 daughters. You would think they would be the same. Okay, they came from me and my wife. Okay, right? So 3 daughters, and yet each one is different. Okay, and they will naturally compare themselves to themselves. But as far as ability and what they can do, listen, their value is not in what they accomplish or how close they are to a perfect standard. Their identity is based upon how close they are to Christ. That's what matters. So, and aren't children different? Aren't children different? One more if anyone wants to share.
Peer pressure.
Oh, yeah. Peer pressure is huge, isn't it? Do we experience that as adults the same way that we experienced it as teenagers? I don't think so. Okay? Because you know who you are. I watch these teenagers. I just sit back and watch them. You know, and we went to a wedding just yesterday of my niece, and I got to see some young people, and you know, some people who aren't married. They don't have jobs yet. They really don't know where they're going. So it's an identity crisis that they're going through. They don't know who they are, and so peers play a huge role. What they are thought about plays a huge role. How they are looked at plays a huge role in what they do and how they see themselves. Okay? And overcoming that as a parent is important. Probably the most important verse I'll share with you in this hour is this. Turn to Proverbs 23, verse 26. Proverbs 23, verse 26. Whether it's a child or a teenager, being an understanding parent is going to be important. And the same person, I said this to my Sunday school class last week, but the same person that said, if you beat the child with a rod, they shall not die, okay? The same one that is for corporal punishment, that wants to discipline their child so that there is rest and so that there is peace in the home, the same person that is being hard on their children says this. Look at what he says, Proverbs 23 and verse 26. My son, give me thine heart, and let thine eyes observe my ways. Ask for your child's heart. Ask for your child's heart. Okay? You ask for your child's heart, listen, by your actions. You ask for their heart by your actions. This person was seeking a deep, connected relationship with their child. I believe that that's what is important, because many children feel disconnected from their parent. They're living their life, they're around their peers, which is directing a lot of what they are doing. Their mental capacities are not fully developed. They talk about the frontal lobe. Smith does. He talks about the frontal lobe and how it's revealed that isn't fully developed until until they're 20 or above. And so, listen, you are their frontal lobe, if you will. You are the one that should be directing them and guiding them, because they are going to run off of their emotions. That's what they are going to do. And so you are an important part of them. But when we disconnect, and we can disconnect by being super involved, but not being understanding. So in other words, you can be a great disciplinarian. You can be very consistent in your discipline, and you're going to get a militant type child. Oh, they will be conformed. They will be great. Everyone from the outside will look at them and say, wow, what a great kid. And yet that one is the one that many times you find goes off the rails at a later time. Why? Because there was never that connection. Oh, you were very involved in a disciplined format, but you were not with your heart. You didn't ask for your child's heart. God says, hey, listen, ask for your child's heart. My son, lend me thine heart. Okay? So, what do we need to do in order to do that? 3 things. Understand reality. Understand reality. You know, our silence many times is deafening. Smith says this. Let me find it here. He says, if you can identify with being a teenager, chances are your teenager probably hasn't heard about it. You know, you need to share your stories with your children. Let them know that you understand where they are coming from. Okay? Have them laugh at you. Okay? Listen, they want to hear about you whenever you were their age. You know, I was thinking about this recently. This is kind of off topic. But, you know, everything that you read or everything that you study, you have this perception that there are 2 entities. There are the parents that are raising their children, and there are the children. But do you give much thought that the parents who are raising their children were once children? So you've actually come through, okay, and now you're on the parent side of things. Don't forget what it's like to be a child. But what's very interesting is many times we do that. In fact, I say we do that, so will our children, and so will our children's children. They will forget what it was like to be a child, and they will make the same mistakes that we will tend to make. We need to teach them and encourage them, hey, listen, one day you're going to be where I am, and you're going to have to make a decision. And I remember being your age. You need to remember being your age as well. Encourage them in that. Okay? Help them in that. Make the connection with them there as well. So, it says most teenagers do not feel that their parents understand them very well. While this usually is not the case, our silence is sometimes deafening. Why not spend some time reliving in your memory what those teen years were like? Feel the emotions, replay the insecurities, and seek to truly understand your child. So relive in your memory the emotions and insecurities that you experienced. Share your childhood experiences and your struggles with your children. Listen, did you have a problem with suicidal thoughts? Listen, children do have those problems. Why don't you tell your child that? Hey, listen, have you ever thought about, are you dealing with depression? Have you ever thought about suicide? Okay? If so, let me know. I've been through that, and I'm on the other side of that. Let me help you with that. Okay? Let them know that. Hey, listen, a lot of times we just don't want to deal with the problem that's sitting there. Okay? But we need to. And God will help you get through that. God will give you the wisdom to do that. Share your childhood experiences and your struggles with your children. This will help them know that you relate while helping you to better understand your child. And then number 2, teach through the changes. Teach through the changes. Be a guiding voice using gentle reasoning. Be a guiding voice by using gentle reasoning. Be positive, affirming, comforting, and nurturing in your words and in your actions. Talk them through their struggles, and then ask the Lord to give you the insight that you need. Okay? No, it's not easy. Do we have all the answers? No, we don't have all the answers. God has all the answers. We go to God. Right? You do your child no favor by pretending like you have all the answers. you do them no favor. Okay? They need to know that you don't know everything. They need to know when you mess up. Hey, listen, I say this all the time, but I wonder how many struggle with this, because it's one of the hardest things that I've ever done, and that's apologize to my child. That's a hard thing to do. That means I have to lower myself below their level and apologize to them. That's not an easy thing to do. Why? Because I'm in a position of authority. I'm in a position, I need to look like I have everything in line. By the way, perception is not reality. Okay? I say this as well. Perception is important. I believe perception is important, but perception is not reality. Okay? What you see of me is not me. It's what you perceive of me. What you see of each other, okay? Everyone looks nice, they're here, they have a smile on their face, everything's good. No, it's not. No, it's not. Hey? Listen, understand reality. No, it's not, and it's okay. So when the devil says, oh, you're the only one that deals with that, everyone else is doing fine, that's not true. That's not true. You're not the only one that deals with it. So listen, talk to people. Get help. Okay? Get help. Okay? Don't let Satan give you that lie. Talk them through their struggles and ask the Lord to give you the insight you need. And then number 3, and we'll end with this one. Encourage and strengthen. Encourage and strengthen. You know what? Be a shoulder to cry on. Be a shoulder to cry on. The one thing I've realized is that it's my children would, and this is the way it was in my family when I was a child as well, but mom was much more approachable than dad was. It was much easier for me to approach mom than it was to dad, especially in regards to this idea of a shoulder to cry on. But guys, fathers, there's a time to just take your teenage child, set them on your lap, and just hug them. It's okay. Okay? There's a time to do that. Okay? Especially whenever you see that they are hurting, understanding that they are hurting. I'm not. I've been very blessed so far. I have 3 girls, so you can imagine a lot of things. Drama being one of them. Okay, I'm a no drama type guy. Okay, probably to a too far of an extent. Okay, but at the same time, my girls have been very understanding about that, of that and that. Their movie selection sometimes is a little off, but all that being said, hey, this idea of the boyfriend-girlfriend drama that goes on, okay? So far it's been pretty low, okay, on the, what would you say, the drama factor, okay, which has been nice, okay? I personally always said, well, you can't officially be dating until 11th grade. I don't know why 11th grade. I just 11th grade. Hey, but anyways, you can like guys. That's fine. That's a good thing. Okay, not against that. But listen, you have other things to do. You have life to live. You don't need all of that. You don't need all of that. Hey, but listen, what happens when a young person is dumped by their boyfriend or girlfriend? That's hard. That's a hard thing to go through. What happens when you're rejected, when the person doesn't want you or doesn't like you? Okay, that's hard. Be that shoulder to cry on. Don't be like I would tend to be. Oh, it didn't matter anyways. No big deal.
Rub some dirt in it.
Rub some dirt in it. But listen, be a shoulder to cry on. Be a shoulder to cry on. Give a big silent hug. Write them a note. That's a good one. Write them a note. Okay. Anymore it's send them a text, right? And I get that. But there's something about a handwritten note. Makes a difference. Okay? Write them a note. Take a time out from life. Take a time out. I'm convicted about this one because I just go. That's pretty much me. But listen, there's a time to step back. There's a time to take a break. By the way, I do, okay? I'll crash. That happens. Hey, not in a bad way, in a good way. Like, okay, busy day, that's fine. Tomorrow, done, okay? And not doing anything. I feel like a bum, but it is what it is. Hey, but listen, sometimes your children need that because they have that expectation to perform, especially in regards to academics or especially in regards to sports. Hey, listen, have them push. That's fine. Have them fight, okay? They're going to fail. All that's going to happen. That's fine, but plan a time, just take them and say, hey, listen, we're going to step away for just a moment. Hey, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break. Okay? You can do this in different ways. We did it, and I didn't do enough of these, but daddy-daughter dates. Daddy-daughter dates are great. Hey, father-son outings, activities. Okay? Listen, boys need to be active. They need to be boys. That's great. Take them out. Have a good time. Throw rocks. Okay? Not at people, but throw rocks, unless it's their brother. Then that's up to you as a parent, how you want to parent that one. I don't know. Hey, I have my philosophy. I didn't have boys, but I have a lot of ideas if I had boys about what I would be doing with them. But all that being said, hey, listen, it's about influence. It's about influence. Grandparents, I know that there are older couples here in this room. That's great because you're not outside of the realm of influence. You're right there. Okay? You can make a difference in someone's life. Teach them, train them, help them. Don't just discipline without direction. Okay? When a child understands that you have a purpose why you're doing what you're doing, okay? There were some stands that we had to take as a family that I had to step up and tell my child and say, listen, I know you really want this, and I really want to give this to you, but Mom and I can't do that. We just can't, okay? And when you're where we are, you get to make that decision. That's up to you, okay? And you follow the Lord's leading in that. And if I'm wrong, I apologize, but before God, that's when they understand your heart and they understand that you're after their heart and that, listen, you don't want to lose it because of a decision that you're making or because of a disciplinary action. When they understand that, they'll be much more apt to accept it with a right spirit. Okay? And so I hope that you will do that. I hope that you'll focus on this idea of influence. Okay? You can get the book and read it. That's great. Okay? If you have teenagers, I strongly encourage you to do that. It is in the book, in the overflow over here in our bookstore. I'd love to have you get that. But I'll say this, and I'm still in teenage years, but I can relate a lot to what Carrie Smith has said, and it is but by the grace of God. Because if you were ever in my Sunday school class or heard me talk, you may have come in here. There were pews at the time, but you may have come in and said something, hey, your girls are great. It's like, that's fine. I know how to conform. That's easy. Pray for me that God gives me wisdom when they become teenagers, because I have no idea what to do. And I didn't, and I don't, okay? But by the grace of God. And can I promise you that my children will turn out? I cannot. Even now, I cannot. I cannot promise you that. But I can tell you this, they're in God's hands. Okay? They're in God's hands. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you've given to us, Lord. Thankful for this opportunity. Lord, I pray that this will not have been any wasted time, Lord, but that each and every person in this room will take what they've heard here today and influence a young child, whether it be a grandchild, whether it be their own child, or whether it be someone in Sunday school or in another school. Lord, I pray that you'll help them. Give them wisdom and guidance, Lord, above what this world has. Well, thank you for it, and we ask these things in Jesus' name.